Prianka Evangeline, your internet speech language pathologist. In the first part of this video, we are going to talk about what makes eye contact difficult for autistic children. And in the second part of this video, we are going to talk about how you as parent or therapist can support your autistic child to develop eye contact. The first reason is called SOR or sensory over responsivity. It means that the everyday situations, for example, clothes rubbing on your skin or light coming through the window or even the chair touching us, even these small sensory information that we get throughout the day can seem too much for an autistic child. They are registered at a higher level than a neurotypical person. It is shown that many autistic individuals get easily overwhelmed by many sensory stimulation or even the slightest sensory stimulation. So when you are talking to your child, when you are showing them something, when there is emotion involved, your child's brain can get into an over-responsive, over-alert state, and it's just so difficult to even pay attention or look at your eyes because there's so many stimulus going on, language, visuals, emotion, all at the same time, which makes eye contact difficult. So there is a part of the brain that you have to really understand about if you're dealing with autistic children. It's the part of the brain called amygdala. So you can remember A for amygdala and you can remember it as anxious because this is the part of the brain that gets activated when there's a lot of stress and or negative stimulation in the environment. It is shown that giving eye contact for an autistic individual stimulates their amygdala. It's actually called amygdala hyperactivation that is seen when an autistic individual actually is expected to pay attention and look at people's faces in social settings. You should also know about another brain region called the fusiform region. You can remember the F with face because this is the region of the brain which helps in face recognition. So studies actually found when an individual with autism is asked to pay eye contact when in social communication, the amygdala is overactive and the fusiform area activity goes down. This means that even though they are trying to look at the face, but they're not really registering the facial expressions because the threat response of the amygdala is so high that they're not able to process the information that they're getting by looking at the face. So it is actually helpful for an autistic child to look away, thereby reducing that amygdala overactivity, reducing the stress of the situation so they can actually listen to what is being said. Numerous other studies show that autistic individuals pay attention in a very different way than neurotypical individuals. What does this mean is they can pay attention through body orienting and even a slight eye gaze or leaning towards the person who's talking instead of giving direct eye contact. Many autistic children also look away or look elsewhere when you're talking because their peripheral vision is even more better than neurotypical people. So even though they are not exactly focusing on one point, in the periphery, they are still looking and they're still paying attention to you. And that is much easier for them, for autistic individuals to do than directly looking at the eyes, which again will create that amygdala overactivity, increase stress response, and just sensorily overwhelm them. Now here are 5 practical shifts for you to use to develop your child's eye contact. Number 1, don't force eye contact because you just learned that eye contact is creating a intense stress response in your child's brain and it's also reducing the facial recognition ability. Instead of forcing something that is societally expected, think about how it is affecting your child and also remember that when stress is high, communication takes a back seat because to the brain, communication is not a basic function like breathing or digestion. To the brain, communication is an extra human ability. So all these extra abilities take a back seat when stress is triggered. So instead of asking your child to pay attention or look at your face, try to establish the more important communication skills like joint attention and shared joy. I have lots of videos on joint attention. I'll link it above and in the description box. You can check it out to develop joint attention skills. Secondly, if they're not looking at your face, look for listening signals. These are signals that your child is still paying attention to you even though they're not looking at you, and it looks like stopping what they're doing when you start talking or just a slight tilt towards your voice rather than looking directly at you, or even slowing down the noise that they're making during their play so that they can hear you better. Or many Gestalt learners show us they're listening by actually repeating what we said. That is a very good sign they're paying attention to you. Thirdly, Invite eye contact in natural, playful settings rather than pressuring them. So this looks like making exaggerated movements when you're reading a book, and let's say the character fell into the water, then you say, "Oh no!" So then you will notice that at that moment your child will look at you, because this is less pressure, this is no demand, this is so easy, casual and fun. Use animated faces, gestures and exclamations to get those small moments of eye contact during your activity or when you're talking to your child. The fourth very nice way to work on eye contact is to sit beside your child instead of sitting in front of them and a little above them and asking them to look up and look at your face. That is, again, it breaks the natural flow of communication, because we're having something here we're talking about, but then I have to stop and I have to look at your face, and that breaks communication. So instead, sit side by side, have things in front of you, talk about them, and ask a question and see if your child is paying attention to you. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for attention and communication, not just eye contact. Because remember, eye contact is not a skill. Many therapists I see take eye contact as one of the first goals of speech therapy. But remember, eye contact is not a skill. Eye contact is not something you have to work on. Eye contact is an effect of communication. It is a side effect of connection. It's a signal of attention, but it is not a goal. The goal is to establish joint attention, is to have shared joy in play, is to make the child laugh and learn. That is the main goal. And eye contact should not be a goal of communication. I know I'm going to trigger many people when I say this. Let's talk about it more in the comments. And the last point is to use some language swaps, meaning instead of always saying, "Look at my face, look at my face," try, "Let's listen with our ears, let's listen with our ears. Let's put on our listening caps. Let's watch how I'm doing, let's watch how I'm doing. Let's look at the picture." So remember, eye contact is biologically difficult for an autistic child. It's not something we can train them and just force them and pressure them into achieving. And eye contact is not a skill. It should not be taken as a speech and language goal. It is an effect of good communication. It is an effect of good connection with the child. And even then, some children might still struggle with eye contact. So instead of just focusing on something that's so hard for your child, try to focus on the things that they are somewhat good at and even very good at, so you can develop skills through that. And don't forget to check out all our apps, Speakero, Writero and First Sentences, that are almost free-ish, that will help your child develop communication. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.